I'd like to now explain a little about the graph and the interpretation of the graph. Although I do have to say, when in doubt, all that you have to do is read your comprehensive report of the results that is produced with every screening, and it will explain what the graph means. But just in case you don't have time to read and you want to eyeball the graph and get a good idea, I'm going to go into some explanations. First of all, with this graph, and I want to say that any names or data up here are make-believe, so please don't think I'm giving out confidential information on students. But anyway, if you see here, this graph here, there's three colors. White, which is the normal sleep. Any bars in this white area means that does not seem to be any problem for the student. The only exception to this would be if we're getting a score right up here, right under the yellow that's still in the white, that student could be having some very, very mild problems that need to be monitored carefully. But probably if the student were referred to a sleep specialist, they would probably find that student not eligible for any sleep diagnosis like obstructive sleep apnea or narcolepsy or whatever. So anyway, then the yellow area, which says caution here, that is an indicator that the student is having some problems. They're not severe. They're probably not even moderate yet, but they are mild problems. And so in a case, I'll talk to you about the scales in a little bit, but the student could possibly benefit from being referred to a sleep specialist. The earlier you can identify and correct a sleep problem, the less severe, it's not going to get severe, and basically the student will do better in school and behaviorally and everything once this sleep problem is corrected. So if it's mild, especially if we're talking about anything like this apnea or sleep-related breathing disorder, which could be upper airway resistance syndrome or obstructive sleep apnea, if it's mild there, or even up here in narcolepsy or whatever, those students probably need to be referred because those are very debilitating sleep disorders. And if they can catch it early and correct it, that would be wonderful. Then if you get up here into the high risk of a sleep disorder, that's the red area up here, then it's a fairly good chance or probability that the student has a moderate to severe sleep disorder, unless you've got a parent that totally over exaggerates things. And sometimes that happens. About 10% of our parents are not good observers and raters of their children. They either over or underestimate, and that's why it's almost impossible to get sleep score validity scores, sensitivity and specificity scores that are in the 90s, because you just are always going to have that 10% of parents that are off on their predictions for one reason or another. Let me see if I can enlarge this graph. I want you to see it better. Okay, that's better. So I just want to say here, you also have, you see here the T-scores, and then there are percentile ranks over here. The percentile ranks are, of course, usually very understandable for parents and professionals. If you're getting a percentile rank of 88 here at the top of the yellow, then that is an indicator that that child's sleep problem, let's say if it were in the area of a sleep-related breathing disorder and it was an 88, that child's problems, he has more severe sleep breathing problems than 88% of peers his age. And that's getting, into the significant range. If you have a T-score, let's say this T-score over here would be 64. If he has a percentile of 88, that corresponds to a T-score of 64. These T-scores, really, parents and professionals shouldn't even really concern themselves with this unless they're doing research, because a T-score is a standardized score that is comparable. You can compare it to other tests and their scores. Like you could compare it to, if you're comparing different academic scores on different academic tests, then this T-score of 64 is a standardized score that could be compared to other tests. Really, it's used more in research when researchers are doing comparisons and doing statistical analysis. You need the T-scores for statistical analysis. But basically, T-scores above 60 are somewhat significant, and above 65 is usually very significant.